Nidoqueen shields up the Brutal Swing. The opponent tries to make a catch onto Greninja, unsuccessfully. Back out comes Weeizing. Weeizing unable to make a move. The opponent sends out Tentacruel, and we are full sending the Earth Power. Does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back at it with yet another incredible battle submission from the highly talented Turbo T612. I am no stranger to featuring this highly talented battler. I more commonly feature this trainer in the Master League Premier Cup, where he is flexing his insane Shadow roster, where he's brung us showcases of things such as Typhlosion and Poliwrath. Today Turbo is trying his hand in the Open Ultra League with a Dark double Poison team. Greninja will be operating as our Dark type, with Shadow Nidoqueen and Shadow Weezing. If you're an OG battler or someone who's been playing this game a while, you'll remember a time where Shadow Nidoqueen was once a top meta threat, back in the days where Poison Fang was only 35 energy. It was quite literally able to cheese its way for a majority of the meta just going straight Poison Fang. Nowadays, Poison Fang costs 40 energy, meaning it takes 6 poison jabs rather than 5. However, Turbo T612 tells me Nidoqueen is back and better than ever. Our Weeizing also has a surprise nuke of Hyper Beam on the Say switch. Need I say any more? Without any further ado, let's get into the battles.
And in game 1, we lead Greninja into Feraligatr. In this battle of water types, Greninja is slightly favoured. The matchup becomes a lot more advantageous if Greninja is able to get that 12.5% chance of getting the boost. We fire off the Night Slash. Unfortunately, no boost is received. The opponent going to return fire with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon is resisted, but Greninja is an insanely glassy pick. The opponent tries to catch the Night Slash onto Weezing, and the Weezing Say switch is swiftly answered by Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen able to win this in the Zero Shield. This matchup is actually pretty close. Nidoqueen's left on a fraction of HP, but that's actually best case scenario, leaving minimal farm for the likely returning Feraligatr. Leaf Blades do hit Nidoqueen for neutral, and a lot of neutral damage at that, as Leaf Blade is a very good move, 35 energy for 70 damage. We find ourselves back in this opening matchup. Back out comes Greninja. Turbo T maintains disciplined fast move timing, throwing one Water Shrieking and the Night Slash. The opponent tank the damage. We see Turbo invest the Protect Shield, look for that Water Shrieking farm down. The opponent not wanting to give us too much free farm, opt to pivot out into Giratina. This is by no means a good matchup for the opponent. We see Turbo bank a boatload of energy and catch the double resisted Dragon Claw onto Weeizing, and despite the opponent having 2 Protect Shields too hard behind, I think it's safe to say this game is already signed, sealed and delivered. The opponent probably has 2 win cons if I'm being brutally honest. Us lagging out, which is very much a possibility with a current terrible game state, or Turbo T having a heart attack, which thankfully he did not have. Giratina shields up the Brutal Swing. The opponent then sends back out Gator. Gator also greeted with the Brutal Swing. Back out comes Giratina. We're already at the next Brutal Swing. The opponent finally going to give it up. And we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Can you believe it? A Gator sighting. Yeah, we're not really that surprised. Turbo T going to go straight for the Night Slash. Once again, fishing for that 12.5% chance of getting a 2-stage attack boost. Unfortunately, RNG gods are not smiling upon us today. The opponent heavily overfarmed before firing off the Hydro Cannon. The opponent going to release the next Hydro Cannon. And we're going to see Turbo T invest the first Protect Shield of the game. Turbo T shields up the Hydro Cannon, throws the correct 1 Water Shrieking and the Night Slash. Using a 3-turn move into a 2-turn move. It's really nice and easy. Just throwing an odd number. So 1, 3, 5 or 7. If this Night Slash goes unshielded, we will win lead. The opponent looking to play out the 1 shield. Turbo T has faith in his Greninja. We're able to survive at minimal HP, undertap the Night Slash, which should enable us to win this lead matchup. Down goes Gator. As we are running an ABB team, you can see Turbo T spamming the switch into his Say switch of Weeizing, and out comes Drapion. Let's see if this opponent's on the correct moveset of Sludge Bomb. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail, which is an easy tank for us. But Mr. Drapion, my beloved channel mascot, you will not be tanking a Hyper Beam. The opponent shows no respect, get 1-shot vanquished. Back to their Pokeball, out comes Pidgeot. We don't quite commit to the Hyper Beam, but does the opponent know the counts? We fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Weeizing able to survive the gust, reach the next Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing doesn't do too much damage. We don't get the same type of attack bonus, but it is incredibly spammy. Turbo T sent out Nidoqueen, then makes a savage catch, catching the Brave Bird onto Greninja, and you already know that is going to be all she wrote. We Poison Jab farm down Pidgeot and take that game. In the next battle, we see Como O in the lead, and a very cool shiny flex from that opponent. We say switch into Nidoqueen, as Nidoqueen will be our soft counter. The opponent answers our Nidoqueen say switch with Feraligatr, and it looks like we're back to the good old days where Nidoqueen is going to cheese its way through a type disadvantage matchup. We shield up the Hydro Cannon, Turbo T gonna fire off the next Poison Fang, looking to force a Protect Shield back, and we do, but Turbo T can easily 2-shield, commit to that full Poison Jab farm down, leaving with a healthy Nidoqueen with residual energy good to go. Despite us being down a Protect Shield, Galarian Weezing is just such a hard check for Komo-o. Due to our Poison Fairy typing, we not only double resist Dragon, but also double resist Fighting as well. Out comes Clefable. The opponent makes it very obvious they don't have Meteor Mash, spamming the Swift as soon as they get it. Turbo T gonna full send the Hyper Beam, looking to force the final Protect Shield or nuke the opponent. The opponent invests a very wise Protect Shield. We then pivot out into Greninja, essentially sacrificing it to the Pokegods. Greninja gonna get one shot vanquished, back to its Pokeball, and it's all down to Weeizing to clean up. The opponent once again gonna fire off a Swift, and we need to be mindful the opponent might look to make a catch. The opponent try the luck making the catch, back onto Komo-o. We heavily overfarm before firing off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is resisted, unfortunately doesn't quite knock out. Are we about to see Weeizing get knocked out by a Dragon type? The opponent fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw isn't lethal. We're able to get that Fairy Wind farm down, leaving with the Hyper Beam, but is Hyper Beam enough to knock out? My gosh, Weeizing, you monster. Very, very well played, Turbo. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja into Malamar. This giant squid is going to be a huge core breaker for us. Greninja does double resist the Sideways. The backline will take super effective from Psychic, and Greninja, of course, is going to be heavily threatened by a potential superpower. We try our luck catching a superpower onto Weeizing unsuccessfully, baiting out Tentacruel. Tentacruel is such a bloody thick Pokemon. They tank that Hyper Beam really easily. We're going to fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing also isn't lethal. Are we going to look to make a play at Switch? No, we're not. Scald actually isn't quite lethal, but the opponent is going to be able to Poison Jab, farm us down afterwards. We send out Greninja. Greninja going to be looking for an aggressive Water Shriek and farm down. In this scenario, it doesn't really matter if we leave low, as the Sideways are going to quite literally do 1 damage apiece, as they are double resisted. The opponent doesn't actually send back up Malamar, instead send out Gator. We fire off the Night Slash. We get the boost. Oh baby, let's go Greninja. We fire off the next Night Slash, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Greninja might be in the red, but we see the instant shield deployed from Turbo, looking to ride his 2-stage attack boost. The opponent pivot back out into Malamar. And I didn't see a Psywave go through, so that must be CMP. The boosted Night Slash forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and that should be pretty much all she wrote, as Nidoqueen can easily tank whatever this opponent throws, saving our Protect Shield for a potential Hydro Cannon, and we can Earth Power Gator to the face. Nidoqueen might be running scared of Gator, but Turbo T says Nidoqueen is a Feraligatr counter confirmed. You heard it here first, as Earth Power removes the remaining HP, and we take that game. And that is going to bring us to the end of set number 1 in our 3-set shoutcast today. Heading into the next battle, we lead Greninja into Clefable, a dreadful matchup, but 2 very nice answers in the back. We say switch into Galarian Weezing, baiting out Swampert. Oh boy, Trainer, it's just a Brutal Swing. It's just a Brutal Swing, I promise. Hyper Beam picks up that one shot, gets that Swampert off my screen. Holy moly, what a boom. Back out comes Clefable. The opponent fire off the Meteor Mash, getting some redemption, also picking up that 1-hit KO. But we can now realign, sending out Nidoqueen to greet Clefable. Clefable gonna fire off the Meteor Mash, does a very solid amount of chip damage. Out comes Drifblim, and here comes Greninja. Switch advantage in this game was absolutely everything. Usually, I wouldn't recommend shielding the first Night Slash, but Drifblim is kind of the exception to the rule, as of course they are an Icy Wind user. Icy Wind comes 100% chance to lower the opponent's attack, or our attack in this scenario, so subsequent Night Slashes will actually do less than the first. Greninja actually able to outpace to the third Night Slash before the second Icy Wind is reached, and that debuff Night Slash still does some very solid chip damage. We invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Icy Wind. The opponent try their luck, catching the Night Slash onto Clefable. Turbo T like, nah, that simply will not be happening. We send back out Nidoqueen, fire off the Poison Fang, Poison Jab farm down, back out comes Drifblim. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja into another Malamar. Malamar is now quite a common pick, as Inkay was spawning in a recent event and a lot of people have invested in it. I personally think it's a pretty solid pick, to be honest, and always gives most of my teams problems.
This time we see Turbo T looking to stay in the lead matchup, the opponent like a savage bait with the foul play, and we're now looking to return the favour, baiting ourselves. Hydro Cannon would be lethal, the opponent like a savage call the bait. We then pivot into Weeizing, finally looking to soak the energy. This time we do catch the superpower. The opponent sends out Donphan once again. We're committing to the Hyper Beam. There is no shot. I think this thing's going to get shielded. Yeah, as they're a Shadow, I think it's safe to say the opponent was probably going to shield, fearful of a potential play rough. Donphan got a huge farm down and now looking primed to sweep our team. We invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Trailblaze. We look to fire off the Night Slash, but that looks like CMP. Oh boy. I believe it's just a Body Slam, but after them buffing themselves, Body Slam going to do far too much damage. The opponent Mud Slap farms us down. We send out Nidoqueen and we're gracefully going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja into Squidward. We're going to say switch into Weeizing. The opponent looks to stay in, fire off the Scald. Scald, going to do a reasonable amount of damage, but is survival. The opponent actually go for the Acid Spray bait. Oh boy. Then send out Talonflame. We fire off the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam near picks up the one shot. Oof. I thought they were almost straight in and straight out. The opponent able to survive the damage. We're able to force a Protect Shield with the Brutal Swing, which is like best case scenario. Turbo sends out Greninja, looking to sacrifice it to the Pokegods. The opponent doesn't have Brave Bird. They only fire off the Fly, thankfully. Brave Bird would have gone quite close to picking up the big one shot. Out comes Nidoqueen. Please don't Acid Spray us again, trainer. Oh man, what a savage. Out comes Mandibuzz. Nidoqueen now going to be stuck in this matchup with a one-stage debuff for quite some time. We fire off the Poison Fang, forcing our own debuff on Mandibuzz's defense. Nidoqueen actually going to say, trainer, enjoy a second debuff. The second Poison Fang gets the opponent below half health. We can see Turbo looking to pivot out. The opponent fire off the Dark Pulse. Switch timer pops up, we pivot out into Greninja, and we're going to see the instant no shield deployed. All of our Pokemon are running out of HP. The opponent pivots back out into Squidward. We're in danger of getting Poison Jab farmed down. We fire off the first Night Slash, which goes unshielded. We don't see the boost. Greninja going to fire off yet another Night Slash, but the opponent still doesn't need to shield. Greninja looks to reach the next one. We get Poison Jab farmed down, and again going to take a heartbreaking loss. Trainer, you killed so many poor defenseless cats. The tough leads continue. We say switch into Weeizing. This opponent going to fire off some energy before the Hyper Beams reach, but this is only a Hydro Cannon. Weeizing will win this in the Zero Shield unless the opponent shields. Hyper Beam! No! Go shielded. Swampert will Mud Shot farm us down before the next Hyper Beams reach, so we're just going to fire off the Brutal Swing, looking to get some solid chip damage. We send out Greninja. The opponent at a potential Earthquake. Earthquake does so much damage, and that is actually nerfed. It does 5 less damage than it used to, but Greninja still doesn't appreciate the damage. We fire off the Night Slash, picking up the knockout. We pivot into Nidoqueen, and out comes Gator. Of course, this is not a good spot for Nidoqueen to be in. However, we've got a 2-to-1 shield advantage, and Turbo going to be looking to shield everything. We shield up the Hydro Cannon, fire off the Poison Fang. The opponent unwilling to shield. And just like that, a Wincon has been found. Turbo going to shield up the next Hydro Cannon. Look to commit to that full Poison Jab farm down on Nidoqueen. Chomping at the bit, waiting for Clefable's return. We leave with the first Poison Fang. The opponent likely don't shield this, knowing the second will do more damage. Poison Fang lands and also force a debuff on the opponent's defense. We reach the next Poison Fang on what looks like to be a charge attack pro event. There goes the opponent's final Protect Shield. Even a Meteor Mash from this range will not remove us from the field of play. It's just a Swift. Swift simply will not get the job done. Clefable able to reach the departing Swift, finally removing Nidoqueen from the field of play. But Greninja comes back out, survives the Fairy Wind, Water Shriek and farms down, and is a Clefable counter confirmed. Mostly thanks to the massive work Nidoqueen put in. In the next battle, we see the battle of the Dark types. Greninja just has such a huge pacing advantage in this matchup, taking only 9 turns to the Hydro Cannon, whereas it takes the opponent 14 turns to the first Ancient Power, or 7 Sucker Punches, 6 to the second, and the Brave Bird is straight 8, or 16 turns, which is incredibly pedestrian compared to our super spammy Frog. We did unfortunately get baited with the Ancient Power, which we respected. We then pivot out into Weeizing, look to make the Ancient Power catch unsuccessfully. We respect the Brave Bird, and again we get baited. Honestly, I've been so tilted recently. I've been shielding up so many baits. I really need to find my balls again.
Out comes Drapion, the opponent fires off the Aqua Tail. Speaking of baiting, Turbo is full sending Hyper Beam. Once again removes the Shadow Drapion from the field of play. Turbo, my poor old channel mascot, you're nuking them left, right and centre. But to be honest, I'm all for it. I don't care what's getting nuked as long as I'm seeing big booms land. I'm sorry, Drapion, you're still my favourite. The opponent sends out their own Weeizing. They correctly shield up the Hyper Beam. We send out Nidoqueen, back out comes Moltres. We bank a boatload of energy, pivot back out into Greninja, fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash is resisted, but of course easily going to knock out as Moltres quite literally had about 4 HP. Back out comes Weeizing. The opponent fires off the Poliwrath, removing us from the field of play. Turbo going to return the favour, firing off the big Earth Power, picking up that one-hit KO, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja into Optimus Prime. Pretty neutral matchup. The opponent is going to have to reach all the way for either an Earthquake or perhaps an Outrage. This thing also has access to the Hyper Beam. Not that I've ever seen an Optimus Prime Hyper Beam anything. We see Turbo attempt to catch a crunch onto Weeizing. You might be thinking, why would the opponent crunch Greninja? Well, most Optimus Prime players are pretty brain dead. They essentially just crunch everything and look to use a massive stat product to Dragon Tail everything down. Out comes Tentacle. Tentacle greeted with the Hyper Beam, which unfortunately isn't quite a big boom because this thing has 10 bazillion HP. The opponent fire off the Scald. We look to commit to the next Hyper Beam. Turbo recognises he isn't going to reach it, so fires off the Brutal Swing, just getting off as much chip damage as he physically can. We send back out Greninja. Greninja once again looking to commit to that aggressive Water Shriek and farm down. The resisted Scald does quite a solid amount of chip damage as Greninja is incredibly glassy. Back out comes Zygarde. We fire off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon goes unshielded. We see the pivot into Nidoqueen, and out comes Gator. We've seen Nidoqueen cheese its way through this matchup with a 2-to-1 shield advantage, but down a Protect Shield. Unfortunately, Gator is going to have too much in the tank. The opponent doesn't even shield our Poison Fang. What a savage. We look to fire off the next Poison Fang, but unfortunately, we don't have a high attack. Gator, with the higher attack, removes us from the field of play. Back out comes Greninja, and we are going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, Greninja into the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. The opponent says no thank you. Say switch into Drapion. Turbo looks to do some chip damage, firing off the Hydro Cannon, force a Protect Shield, and we send out Nidoqueen. As this is Shadow and Shadow Crime, regardless if they've got Crunch or Aqua Tail, 2 moves will knock out Nidoqueen. I personally run Crunch, and 2 Crunches get the job done. The opponent does have the cheaper Aqua Tail. We're going to see Turbo invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the next Aqua Tail before unleashing the Earth Power. Earth Power goes unshielded, picking up the knockout. Out comes Talonflame. Turbo going to fire off the Poison Fang. Poison Fang won't do much damage, but will of course force a 1-stage debuff on Talonflame's defense. Shadow Nidoqueen once again rewinding the clock. It's like season 10 or something, just putting in so much work. Deleting Drapion and 2/3 of Talonflame as well. We send out Greninja, tank the first fly, respect the second. The opponent needs to pivot out or they get farmed down. The opponent smartly pivot out, sending out Gator, and we'd really love a boost here. Night Slash, unfortunately, doesn't get the boost, meaning the opponent can tank this next move, but they might shield, looking to keep them out. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield, and we pivot into Weeizing. We can survive any one move, but likewise, Brutal Swing from this range, even Shadow and Shadow Crime, will not be enough to knock out. Brutal Swing will leave them low. Can we Fairy Wind farm down afterwards? The opponent stays in, bank the Hydro Cannon for the road, send out Talonflame. We fire off the Brutal Swing picks up the knockout, the opponent forced to throw. It's going to be Water Shrieking versus Shadow Claw. Who will prevail? Greninja just about gets that farm down, and we take an incredibly close game. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle, we actually see the Mirror, another man of culture, running the Frog. So in this matchup, both moves are resisted, but Hydro Cannon does more damage and is better DPE. So I was actually recently watching a Homeslice Henry stream. Shout out the GOAT Homeslice Henry. He was recently using Greninja, and he was of the opinion, if you're only going to reach one move against Tentacruel, Hydro Cannon would do more raw damage. That's actually an incorrect statement. Hydro Cannon and Night Slash do exactly the same amount of damage to Tentacruel, so of course Night Slash is always the way to go, as it's cheaper, better DP, and comes with a 12.5% chance to get the boost. Feel free to fact check me on PvPoke. If you are looking to improve your gameplay, I'd highly recommend checking out PvPoke in general. It's such a phenomenal resource. For the past 5 or 6 seasons, I've played this game really casually, and I personally need to go back to school as well. I spend a lot more time shoutcasting than actually battling myself, and my gameplay is pretty shambolic, if I'm being brutally honest. However, I got distracted, so returning to the commentary. Nidoqueen, gonna invest to protect shield. Look for that poison jab farm down. The opponent sends back out Greninja. Greninja gets poison jab farm down. Back out comes Weeizing. They're unable to reach a move, and out comes Tentacruel. We full send the Earth Power. Earth Power lands through to protect shield, and just like that, we're gonna say long live the Queen. Shadow Nidoqueen reigns supreme. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Greninja into Dragonite. Turbo T 612 says no thank you and looks to utilise Nidoqueen this time in the safe switch position. We invest to protect shield, blocking up the Dragon Claw. The opponent sends out Drapion, trying to catch a Poison Fang unsuccessfully. We full send the Earth Power, forcing our protect shield back. No one move will knock us out, so we see the instant no shield deployed. Aqua Tail rocks us into the red health range, but the opponent can have a tough time of Poison Sting farming us down, as both ground and poison resist poison. Turbo T actually fires off the Poison Fang on the CMP tie to the next Aqua Tail, forcing a debuff on Drapion's defense. That was actually such a clever play, as with a debuff defense, they're definitely in Hydro Cannon range. We send out Greninja, we tank the crunch. Turbo T heavily over farms before unleashing the Hydro Cannon, looking to remove Drapion from the field of play. We've got the Night Slash banked as well. Back out comes Dragonite. Dragonite not going to appreciate this Night Slash. Night Slash gets them into the red. We pivot into Weeizing, and out comes Typhlosion. Weeizing going to start unleashing the Brutal Swing spam. Brutal Swing not going to do too much in this matchup. It looks like two are very easily survivable. Turbo T once again throwing at very disciplined timing, 2 Fairy Winds and the charge move, only giving away 1 free turn. The opponent full send the blast when we send out Greninja. Is that DRE? I think they might have actually survived that Water Shrieking. They did survive as the opponent pivots back out into Dragonite. We farm up to the double Night Slash. As long as we survive that Dragon Breath, this will end in victory. We do survive the Dragon Breath. The Water Shrieking will register before the Incinerate. Greninja, quite literally on 1 HP and a dream, is going to take that game. Let's get it. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see a dreadful lead Greninja into Venusaur. We're going to say switch into Weeizing. The opponent going to fire off a Sludge Bomb. A Sludge Bomb will hit for neutral as Poison resists itself, and Fairy takes super effective. Weeizing shows very respectable Bolt. Turbo T going for a very rare bait. I haven't seen Turbo bait all that much, but when he baits, evidently he's in the opponent's head as the opponent invests a Protect Shield, probably fearful of a potential overheat. We're happy to match Protect Shield. The opponent sends out Guzzlord into Weeizing. Trainer! I have never seen someone switch a Dragon and a Dark type into a Fairy type. If we had Poliwrath, that would be a clean one-hit KO. The opponent actually able to survive the Hyper Beam. Guzzlord is a Weeizing counter confirmed. What is going on? We send out Greninja. Greninja able to Water Shriek and farm down Guzzlord. Venusaur comes back out and is instantly going to be greeted with the Night Slash to the face. Night Slash goes unshielded. We pivot into Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is certainly not going to appreciate a Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is a very busted move. The opponent tried to trap us into the charge attack priority. Turbo smartly took the extra and out comes Annihilate. We full send the Earth Power. Earth Power goes unshielded, rocking the opponent down to around a third health. If they've got Ice Punch, this is curtains for us. If they've only got a Rage Fist, this is playable. The opponent fire off the Rage Fist, vamping up their counter damage. They're unable to counter farm us down. We leave with a Poison Fang. Poison Fang will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Can we fast move, beat them down? No, we can't. Can we reach the Night Slash? No! Venusaur holds strong, picking up the 1 HP victory. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja into Shadow Machamp. Yikes is all I'm saying. We say switch into Weeizing and out comes Shadow Drapion. No shot. There is not going to be another channel mascot getting screenshotted with the Hyper Beam. Or is there? We're full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? Finally, we see a Shadow Drapion invest that Protect Shield. Turbo this time doesn't even commit to the next Hyper Beam. Fires off the Brutal Swing that does like negative damage to Drapion. Drapion heavily over farms before firing off the Aqua Tail, removing us from the field of play. Back out comes Greninja. Greninja going to be greeted with the crunch. Thankfully, we don't see the defense drop. We're not messing around. We're going to go straight for the Hydro Cannon, looking to remove Drapion from the field of play. Show me double Dark Poison, trainer.
Unfortunately, it's not double dark poison. We've seen Nidoqueen very, very good at cheesing its way through Gator with a 2-to-1 shield advantage. The opponent doesn't shield the Poison Fang, and I think that's going to be curtains for this opponent, unless they've got payback. We've seen this one play out. Turbo T just going to double shield this, look to Poison Jab farm down, and let's hope Machamp is running the standard moveset of Cross Chop and either Rock Slide or potentially Stone Edge. We fire off the Poison Fang. Again, the opponent doesn't shield. Trainer, what are you saving that shield for? Unless this is payback, no one move will knock us out. Stone Edge simply doesn't get the job done. Nidoqueen Poison Jab farms down Machamp, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. Huge shout out to Turbo T612, who is very quickly becoming one of my favourite trainers to shoutcast. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. The link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.